Welcome back to Chokitiri Media. There has been back and forth over the statements made by Kemi Badenoch.
If I wanted to be in Nigeria, I would have moved back to Nigeria. I don't want to recreate Nigeria in the UK. And I don't want the UK being turned into the sort of place that everybody else is running from. Somebody has to defend it.
The Conservative Party leader in the UK, who happens to be a Nigerian origin, so to say. There are three classes of people concerned about this statement of Kemi Badenoch. Number one among them is those people that are accusing, abusing, challenging, and getting annoyed, infuriated about the statement of Kemi Badenoch. The second type of people are those people on the side of Kemi Badenoch saying that she actually spoke her truth. It is her truth that she spoke. It is what she saw that she spoke. It is what she's feeling right now that she spoke. Do they actually want her to lie? And they group themselves behind Kemi Badenoch on the way she saw or she's saying Nigeria right now. And the top class of people are the one that says it doesn't concern them. Whatever statement Kemi could make, it's up to her. And is Nigeria the way it is? It doesn't concern them. They've lost hope completely. So Kemi has been making statements.
What really shaped me was watching the decline of the family wealth because of terrible economic policies that the country was having. And I tell people that it was socialism, and they say, oh, it wasn't socialism, it was just a military dictatorship. And this is one of the things which I referenced in the speech that I gave in Washington a couple of days ago, that people keep saying, oh, it's not socialism because it doesn't call itself that, but it is. It was the government owning everything, deciding which businesses would run and which ones wouldn't run by decree. It was, the government choosing which school you would go to. For secondary school, I wasn't able to pick the school. The government decided you will go to this school. And sometimes they send people thousands of miles away. And one day, for example, the water just stopped running. And it was just a state-run water company, just couldn't cope. And we ended up having to dig a borehole and get our own water. But for a long period, I had to go out fetch water. So I tell people that I know what it is like to be wealthy and also to not have any money, to be poor. By the time I moved to the UK in 1996, there was virtually nothing left, hyperinflation and so on. And my dad gave me the equivalent of what was his last £100 and said, good luck, because I really wanted to come back to the UK and I had a British passport. So all of those experiences have shaped my view of the world, that even if you're wealthy, things can disappear. And you have to work very hard to maintain not just your family, but also your country. Otherwise, it'll degrade. Things aren't always going to be the way they are. You've got to make sure that you culture and cultivate what is good about your society, or you will lose it.
Actually, it's the fact. But did that statement really come out directly from her? Did she actually sat down somewhere and she said, okay, let me keep talking about Nigeria? I don't think that is the case. As I gathered, I learned that Kemi was approached by one senior political citizens in Nigeria asking Kemi if they could work together on Nigerian projects. And then Kemi said, well, she doesn't want to have anything to do with Nigeria, that she should be left alone. But I think since then, when Kemi said, okay, just let me be, Nigerians and this political elite in Nigeria are not really happy about the answer Kemi gave to that person that we're talking about. So, the statement of Kemi, or the accuser of making, she's not backing down on it. She said it, and that is the way she says things. She's a leader in the UK, and she's not there to lie to anybody. Some people are calling her Mr. Tom. So who is Mr. Tom? Mr. Tom is a person of a color that sees himself or herself more white or more of the other color than our own color. So some people have really tagged Kemi to be like that. But I think this woman called Kemi didn't care at all that anybody that likes to say whatever they like to say, they should go ahead and do that.
You know, I have some crazy, really, really crazy attacks. She's the face of white supremacy and all sorts
You
of
really
garbage.
look like it.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's this. There are some people who they don't even know how to respond when something different happens. It's sometimes it's jealousy, or they can't explain why you are not following the template which you've been told to follow, that this is what you do. You're a black woman, you should be going to the black women's room and doing black women's groups and things like that. Why are you not doing that? And the two sides that do this are black people on the left and white racists.
Badenoch stand by Nigerian comment after criticism.
Real way, you know, men marrying lots of wives, girls not being allowed to go to school, like real patriarchy, not someone, you know, didn't open a door for me or did open a door and I didn't like it. And you'd have boys make very derogatory comments about girls. And this was still in a relatively, you know, sort of well-educated, relatively progressive sort of environment. They say women's place is in the kitchen and girls shouldn't, why are you bothering doing this? You know, you're only going to get married and have children. And there's no social security. There's no benefit system. There's no safety net. Safety net is only family. So people have lots of children because that's what looks after you when you get old.
Kemi Badenoch has stood by her past comment about Nigeria after the vice president of the West African country accused her of denigrating Nigeria. So the vice president, Shettima, also didn't keep quiet about Kemi. In fact, in one of the conferences where the vice president was talking, he actually asked Kemi if she's not happy with Nigeria, she has a chance to go and drop her name. And that name is Kemi. You know she's Kemi, so definitely she should drop that name.
Who founded Facebook? The co-founder of Facebook was Eduardo Luis Sabirin, born in Sao Paulo, Brazil, of Jewish Brazilian ancestry. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, was a migrant from South Africa. He owns SpaceX and now X, formerly Twitter. I can name names. Sergey Brin, the co-founder of Google, is worth over $30 billion. He's of Russian background. Rupert Murdoch, the chief executive of News Corp, is of Australian descent. Madeleine Albright, who became the United States Secretary of State, was of Czech origin. Steve Chen, the co-founder of YouTube, is originally from Taiwan. Immigrants build nations and immigrants build civilizations. One of the men in the front seat here has a thriving business in Namibia. He lived in Australia for over a decade, adding value to the Australian economy. Hence, there is a need for us to respect and cherish immigrants. Migrants are the source of life in all societies. Rishi Sunak, the former British Prime Minister, is originally from India. A very brilliant young man. He never denigrated his nation of ancestry, nor poured venoms on India. Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the British Labour or Conservative Party. We are proud of her, in spite of her efforts at denigrating her nation of origin. She is entitled to her own opinions. She has even every right to remove the Kemi from her name. But that does not underscore the fact that the greatest black nation on earth is the nation called Nigeria. 1 out of every 3-4 black men is a Nigerian. And by 2050, Nigeria will surpass the United States, will be the 3rd most populous nation on earth. 1 out of every 3 black men will be.
So the Conservative Party leaders who was born in the UK, but mostly raised in Nigeria.
So you were born in the UK, but then your family moved back to Lagos, Nigeria when you were very young, and you were raised there for the first 16 years of your life. Now, in those years, Nigeria had a series of military coups. Inflation reached 40%. Life expectancy was around 46 years old. And by the end of the decade, 43% of Nigerians lived below the poverty line. Tell us about your childhood growing up in Nigeria and how this political and economic context shaped your character and shaped your politics.
So it certainly shaped my character, but my family shaped my character a lot more. I was born into a relatively wealthy family, and I was born in January 1980. This is just as the oil boom is taking off in the country in the 70s. Everybody's got lots of money, and my family is doing well, partly because of that. And
But they're not in oil. Your dad is
no, but he was a doctor who had lots of oil company, patients,
Okay.
and he worked for them to some extent as well. They would send their patients to him, so he didn't work for the companies, but he treated them and got paid very well. And my grandmother, who, grew up never learning how to read or write, was poor. She made a lot of money from trading. So she was my, initial inspiration. This woman who could never read or write, but she made so much money. She sent some of her children to the US to study, paid all the fees. Not my dad, but others, and they're still here. I still have family here because of what she did back in the 60s. But
As repeatedly described, growing up in fear and insecurity in a country plagued by corruption. You will hear it right here. I'm going to play the video for you where Kemi make the statement of insecurity and fear. But is it true or not? I want you to put your comment down there. Is Kemi's statement true or not?
Remember, my experience with the police in Nigeria was very negative. And coming to the UK, my first experience with the police was very positive. The police in Nigeria would rob us. So when people say, "Oh, I had this bad experience with the police because I'm black and they're white," I was like, "Well, I remember the police stole my brother's shoes and his watch."
his shoes?
Yeah, they took his shoes and his watch. It's a very poor country, so people do all sorts of things, and giving people a gun is just a license to intimidate. But that's not the bar we should use for British police. Obviously, it should be much higher. But
On Monday, Nigerian Vice President Kashim Shettima suggested Badenoch could remove Kemi from her name if she was not proud of our nation of origin. Asked about Shettima's comment, Badenoch's spokesperson said that she stands by what she says she sees, and it is not the PR for Nigeria. So, sure, Kemi is out, posting that she is not out there to do a PR for Nigeria. She is the leader of the opposition, and she's very proud of our leadership of the opposition in this country, he told the reporter. The spokesperson of Kemi is the one speaking now. She tells the truth. She tells it like she sees it. She's not going to couch her words according to the spokesperson. That is the way he put it. During a speech on migration in Nigeria capital Abuja, Shettima said his government was proud of Badenoch in spite of our efforts at denigrating our nation of origin. Do you think Kemi is denigrating Nigeria? Let me know what you feel. Shettima was met with applause when she said she's entitled to her own opinion. She has every right to remove Kemi from her name, but that does not underscore the fact that the greatest black nation on earth is the nation called Nigeria. Do you believe him? If you believe him, put your comment down there. If not, let me know, because there's no point to be a giant with a clay leg that can crumble anytime. He compared Badenoch's approach to that of our predecessor, Rishi Sunak, who happens to be the first minister of Indian heritage, as a brilliant young man who never denigrated his nation of ancestry. It is unclear which comment Shettima was referring to, but Badenoch has frequently mentioned our Nigerian upbringing in speeches and interviews.
I chose this country because here I could breathe free and I could be everything that I wanted to be. I grew up in Nigeria and I saw firsthand what happens when politicians are in it for themselves, when they use public money as their private piggy banks, when they promise the earth and pollute not just the air but the whole political atmosphere with their failure to serve others. I saw what socialism means for millions. It's poverty and broken dreams. I came to Britain determined to make my way in a country where hard work and honest endeavour can pay.
Let's talk about a bit profile about Kemi. Kemi was born Olukemi Adegoke in Wimbledon in 1980. She grew up in Lagos, Nigeria, and in the United States of America, where as a physiology professor, mother lectured. So our mother is, a lecturer in the United States. She returned to the UK at the age of 16 to live with a friend of her mother because of the worsening political and economic situation in Nigeria, and to study for her A-levels. After marrying Scottish banker Hamish Badenoch, she took her husband's surname, Badenoch, at the Conservative Party conference this year. Badenoch contrasted the freedom she experienced in the UK to her childhood in Lagos, where fear was everywhere. She said she vividly described the city as lawless, recalling hearing neighbors scream as they are being boggled and beaten, and wondering if your home will be next. Last week, during a tour of the US, she described her home city as a place where almost everything seemed broken. Her experiences helped her shape the conservative idea. As she set against socialism, she said, "This is Kemi Badenoch for you. What do you feel?" Because people are arguing with each other. You remember, Davido also said something like this. You remember, a lot of people, so a lot of celebrity also are coming out to say things are not actually okay in Nigeria right now. When Davido spoke, you have the video on this channel too. They put him on stage and people started to lambast him, and some people are actually said, okay, they are for him. So definitely, you don't expect Davido to lie. He actually said it the way he sees it. And that is the way he put it. So nobody should crucify Davido for that too. Same as Kemi Badenoch. So I don't know what you feel. I don't know, which side you want to stand. I don't know which side you are standing. But whichever place you stand, just make sure that you stand on the path of truth. Kemi has spoken her truth. What is the truth for you about Nigeria? What is the truth for you about Kemi herself? Do you think she has big mouth? Do you think she has the right to express herself? And is the expression she's making, is it deliberate about Nigeria? No, I don't think so. She was pushed to speak and she has to speak. So definitely, it's her truth.
Thank you for watching. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing so you won't miss out any of our latest videos.